Hi there, and welcome to Fuzzy on the Details. My name is Fuzzy, and if you like the Marvel Multiverse role-playing game, you've once again come to the right place. Today, we are continuing our series focusing on homebrewed content that builds upon a deep understanding of the rules that we've already explored on the channel. Today's focus is close weapons, and we'll strive to not only give you some fun new options to play with, but also talk through the process of creating balanced weapons for yourself. So without further ado, let's get into the details. For a full description of my design approach, see the first video in this series on ranged weapons. The short version is, I will always prioritize balance. I'll try to use existing mechanics in fun new ways and avoid rules bloat. We'll expand the tactical decisions that your characters can make, but we'll make sure those choices are a reflection of your character rather than something you felt forced into doing because one option was clearly better than the others. Alright. Let's get started with a weapon that looks cool in anyone's hands, whether you're a rank 1 goon on the streets of Hell's Kitchen, Thundra, or the Spirit of Vengeance, the chain. There's a specific gap I'm looking to fill with the chain. There is no common weapon in the game that can extend a character's reach. Before we decide how that might work, let's look at some examples of other ways reach can be increased in the game. For example, taking the big trait increases a character's reach to a flat 2. The Hellfire Chain's power increases it to a flat 10. The extended reach powers multiply it by 4 or 10, and the 4 levels of the grow powers can multiply it by 5, 20, 80, or 320. So my approach is that we don't want a common weapon to be as good as a power or an existing trait. We can't make big any weaker, so let's give it a multiplier of times 2, or about half as powerful as the extended reach power. Looking at how Hellfire Chains work, I think we can also have the chain apply the grabbed condition on a fantastic success instead of stunned like other blunt weapons. A little more thematic that way. Finally, given that no other common weapon in the game extends a character's reach, let's balance this out with the following rule. A character must use a move action to spin the chain before the reach benefits are applied. It can still be used normally without the reach increase if you don't spend this movement cost. I would even say that the movement cost doesn't have to be in the current round. Once a character gets that chain whipping around, they can maintain it via concentration. So to be clear, that means a stationary character can start spinning the chain in their move action and immediately attack with times 2 reach. Or they could invest in action earlier in the combat, or even before combat starts, and maintain that spinning with concentration until they attack. Once you attack though, you'll have to spend another move action to get the chain spinning again. Or if you don't feel like doing that, you can simply attack without reach, but still doing a grab on a fantastic success. If you think the cost of a movement action is too much, you can always use a reaction at your table. So I learned a little something today. The big club used by M'Baku in Black Panther 1 and 2 is called a Knobkerrie. You can call it a war club if you like, or you can use these rules to represent using a sledgehammer, like Frank Castle did in episode 1 of season 1 on The Punisher on Netflix. Now the gap I'm trying to fill here is pretty clear. The sword is a sharp weapon with a +2 multiplier, but we have no +2 blunt options for close weapons. We can fix that pretty easily by essentially having the Knobkerrie or the Sledgehammer function as a blunt sword. Now, I've poked fun at the sword's imbalance at least a couple of times in my videos, so there's no surprise that I think a +2 multiplier with absolutely no trade-off is not balanced. So here's my attempt at a fix to not only bring the sword back into line, but to do so without taking away that gaudy +2 multiplier. Here goes. When attacking with any close weapon that has a +2 multiplier, whether that's a sword, Knobkerrie, sledgehammer, whatever, a character must spend one reaction. This simulates needing to hold both hands on the weapon. Now you can still use that weapon one-handed with no reaction cost, and it does a +1 multiplier. Rewatching that Punisher fight with the sledgehammer on Netflix was the inspiration for this. When Frank is fighting one-handed with the sledgehammer, he's able to dodge, counterattack, and generally be more nimble in combat. When he grips the sledgehammer with 2 hands and really winds up, the damage he does is clearly much higher, but he tactically doesn't do this when he's got multiple enemies attacking him. So what do you think? Let me know in the comments. We're going to approach silver close weapons the same way we did silver bullets in last video. Since there aren't rules for weapons made of different materials in this game, we will treat silver weapons as distinct weapons, so any close weapon on page 34 of the core rulebook can also be acquired as a separate weapon with the silver suffix, so you can have a silver club or a silver sword. As an example, when taking fast attack, a character could select a dagger as the free weapon they get with that power. When taking vicious attack, they can select club silver. Facing a vampire, only the club would be effective. In order to keep these weapons from being the default choices over regular ones, we're going to apply the same shortcoming against normal weapons that we talked about in the ranged weapon video. When used against enemies without the weakness to silver, silver weapons have no damage multiplier bonus. Well, we've spoken about silver bullets and knives. Let's talk about wooden stakes, which would help characters like Blade once again overcome a vampire's damage reduction. Stats should be similar to a knife, but they can't be thrown. Like silver bullets, when a wooden stake is used against enemies without weakness to wood, the wooden stake has no damage multiplier bonus. As discussed, if a wooden stake has no drawbacks, everyone would take them instead of regular knives. Like an improvised weapon, a wooden stake could break after dealing double damage on a fantastic success as an optional rule. And as a reminder, per the weakness trait on page 63 of the CRB, weapons made from certain materials ignore the damage reduction of targets with weakness to that material, and it prevents recovery of that damage via healing factor. Whether you call it a taser rod or a stun baton, this is a pretty common weapon in the MCU, with many variations on the same theme. One was used by Brock Rumlow pre-Crossbones in the elevator scene in Winter Soldier, and Black Widow, Yelena Belova, and various others have used them as well. From a design perspective, we'll use the club as a base item here, except we'll change the damage from health to focus. We'll keep stunned as the effect applied on a fantastic success. I think that's pretty thematic. As an optional rule, if you don't like the idea of changing the damage to focus, you could keep it health and apply paralyzed for 1 round on a fantastic success instead of stunned. This would differentiate it from the club and give you another tactical option. Here is a chart with all of the weapons we've covered today. You can find it available for download on fuzzyonthedetails.com, link in the description. And thank you everyone for your feedback thus far. I'll be working on some homebrew videos for both equipment and iconic weapons next. I've collected a few requests already and will be incorporating them, but keep them coming. Well, true believers, that's it for Homebrewed Weapons. If you like what you heard, please consider hitting that thumbs up or leaving a comment. It would really help me out with the old algorithm, or at least that's what I've been told. Either way, thank you so much for listening, and please keep those suggestions coming. Have a great day.